All right, so welcome to Ascension with A Course in Miracles. And I have titled this Ascension with A Course in Miracles because A Course in Miracles, I have found, is the most precise, detailed, step-by-step process that teaches us how to ascend out of the lower mind and into the higher mind of God. There is a process that we must go by. It is absolutely the same for everybody. The circumstances look different for everybody, but the process is like a ladder. Step one is step one is step one for everybody. And step three is step three, and step 10 is step 10. You cannot go up the ladder any other way than 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So there is a process to ascension, as there was a process to descension. And I don't know if that's even a word, but to descend, we must come down the ladder. We come up from the top and we come down. And A Course in Miracles for me is one of the most amazing teachings because it absolutely breaks down what the mind must do so that we can have an experience in the heart. And once the mind has been fully trained into understanding the process of descending and ascending, once the mind gets hold of that knowingness that we are on a process of ascending, then something happens inside of us where we begin to really move. The process moves a little faster. You can't skip the steps, but it speeds up because there's a readiness. There's a receptivity within us that then the whole universe can conspire in supporting our movement, because the mind of God wants all of us to be in the light because we are in the light. Each time one of us chooses to enter an incarnation, it's as if in the mind of God, in all this light, one of us goes dim and dense and dark. And so it's like God's mind has these little and darkened spots. Now, these spots are not at all a bother to God, because God doesn't worry about that. God knows that that's just one who has chosen to close. And when that one chooses to open, that opening will happen. It won't require effort on God's part to make us accept the light of who we are. It will take no effort on God's part for us to finally accept that we've always been in the light and we've just covered up the light. You know, we got blinders on. We're pretending we don't see the light. We're pretending that it is dark in here, but it is only dark by our choice to pretend that it is dark so that we can have this experience of separation. God doesn't judge any of that. God is just like saying, hey, if everybody lightens up, then we all can be in the same frequency together. But when one chooses to undarken themselves, there is no judgment whatsoever. So ascension is the process of how do we recognize that we have darkened ourselves, and that usually starts typically through the self-help movement. I want more money. I want a better relationship. I want a relationship. I want a better body. I want a healthier body. I want to travel more. I want more money. It becomes with a want. And that is an honoring that internally we were created for abundance. We were created to have no limits placed upon us. And that desire of wanting begins to activate something inside of us that sends us on the journey of seeking. That is one of the first steps. That's one of the first steps. When an alcoholic feels like they are out of control, they desire to get sober. That's one of the steps. Now, nobody can move up the ascension ladder until they have hit whatever rock bottom they must hit. And that rock bottom is different for everybody. That rock bottom, in my opinion, hey, Dondra, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Rock bottom, in my opinion, is the level of consciousness that we left in the previous incarnation, because that rock bottom is as low as you will be willing to go on your journey. And I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, definitely. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Ask questions if that doesn't make sense, but it's very simple. Make sure you don't let your mind complicate this, because it's very simple. We leave at the level of consciousness that we're at, And we are all born here. So we have to drop to whatever that rock bottom is. And then from there, we start the process of ascension. Super simple. So this is called Ascension with A Course in Miracles because we have to go through those steps. So why not do it with the teachings that teach those steps in the easiest, simplest way that I've ever found? So today I do have to complete by 1 o'clock. So it'll just be a 1 hour session here because I've made a commitment to do something at 1, participate in something I've got to be there for. So I want to focus on, if you don't mind, we're going to take your nuggets at the end, and then we'll unpack some of those nuggets. And then at that time, you can share with me how maybe the course has been helpful to you during this past week, since we gathered here together last week on Wednesday. And obviously, I want you to, if you find this helpful, share this with other people, like my YouTube page, because I see that our numbers are dwindling, and I know people's lives get busy. But at some point, if we don't expand the numbers, then I'm going to shift platforms. I probably am going to start doing lives on Instagram because it seems like maybe that there's more of an audience there that would participate in something like this. And so we'll see. So I'm going to take an evaluation of this. We're coming up on a year of me starting these Ascension with A Course in Miracles classes. They're free. I don't understand why, there are not more people participating, but you know what? It is what it is. I trust that it is all divinely perfect. And those who've been here have gotten what they're supposed to get. And so I want us to go to lesson 124. So let me give you a second to get to your Course in Miracles book and go to lesson 124. The title of that lesson is Let Me Remember I Am One with God. I am one with God. And actually, I do want to ask you a question. And whoever wants to unmute yourselves, please give me a response to this question. What does that mean to you? Now that you have probably had an experience with this possibility that you're one with God, as Jesus said, I and the Father are one. When you think about you being in oneness with God, what does that mean to you? Kat, Dondra, Vicky, Jody, what does that mean to you? Please unmute yourselves. Any one of you. Thank you, Kat.
Oh, you're welcome. What it means to me is that I am Christ. I am I've got a lot out of this, A Course in Love class that I'm taking with you. And it all comes back to this, really, that my consciousness, I want my consciousness a lot. I have to totally accept, which is challenging, that I am God. I am Christ consciousness. So that's the knowing, that's the knowingness. And then to live my life in a way that's congruent with that, which means I'm be kind and gentle and loving and all that good stuff. Sorry, I was getting a phone call. Hello? Hello?
I hear you, Kat.
Oh, now I had got a phone call, some toll-free number. I had to just decline and whatever. But anyway, I was pretty complete with what I was saying of what it means to me. I can't hear you, Laina.
Okay, thank you. I was sorry, I muted myself while you were chatting. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate them. So yes, we have been hearing that we are one with God. That's been a constant part of our story for so very long. But are we actually walking the talk? If we know we're one with God in the mind, are we expressing what God is through the heart? And we got to keep it really simple. God is nothing more than energy. It's the essence that is. It's a substance that all is made of. So we're made of the same thing that all is made of, because we're part of the all. Cannot not be what you are made of, because there's only one substance. So if we're made of that substance, and that substance is pure intelligence, it is creative intelligence. Course in Miracles refers to it as mind. We're in the mind of God. It's that intelligence that creates everything. There's a lineage called, now I just threw a quick little blank. Ernest Holmes is a teacher from the late 1800s, early 1900s. I believe it was early 1900s. And he started a movement, and they called it Science of Mind. And God is mind to that movement. God is mind. It's New Thought movement, but it is in essence, our mind is creative. Mind created everything. So mind, if you capital M mind, if it's intelligent and it creates everything, it loves everything that it creates. So what we want to get comfortable with is that if we say we're one with God, we're intelligent creators that love what we create. That needs to be fully embodied in order for us to live in that fifth dimension. Because until we get to the fifth dimension of consciousness, where we know we are one with God, where we are one with all that is, and we are operating as the love and the light. The light to me is that intelligence. It's what shines, what illuminates, what is possible, what is created. So for us to get to that level and operate in that higher frequency, reason is operating in the mind of God, with the mind of God. It's like, okay, what God says is true is what makes perfect sense. I am going to use that kind of reasoning. So for us to be able to move into that fifth dimension where there is total peace, joy, everybody is creating, and you're creating, manifesting your desires of what you want to experience instantly. For us to get there, we've got to see how we descended, and it takes a long time to manifest. And we are using time to slow everything down. So for us to be able to continue to move in that direction, we must really get the concept that we are one with the creative source. What is the creative source, so that I know what I am, so that I can then be that, be the expression of that on the planet, because that's what the world needs, is those who are walking like Jesus did, in that Christed essence, as Buddha did, as Martin Luther King Jr. did. And not everybody is going to be like Buddha or like Jesus teaching and people following them. Many are in action, like Gandhi, like Martin Luther King Jr., like some of the doctors today that are changing the medical establishment, like some of the politicians today that are turning the establishment upside down because they're speaking truth. They're not tolerating the corruption. They're not tolerating the lies. We have those people sprinkled about. We have the people in corporations who said, no, I will not compromise my product. Those are light workers. And what is a light worker? Is somebody who is allowing the light that is inside of them to express itself, and they don't even need to call themselves spiritual. They're just doing what comes naturally, which is to use reason, logical reason, to bring about an intelligent shift in what is perceived as nonsensical, what is perceived as duality, selfish and greedy. Once that kicks in inside of us, we are being one with God. And it doesn't have to look in any one specific way. I'll tell you, that's been a big aha for me. This last year, 2021, was a big aha when I finally got that I don't want to be spiritual. It was a box, albeit a nice box, and albeit a bigger box than my, atheist box. And that was even bigger, more expansive than my Catholic box. So each time I keep expanding into another possibility, until, we don't need labels. And we just do. One who is truly being spirit is one who is allowing spirit to inform us, and then we bring that into physical form. We let that be the physicality that we accept as ours, is to express what that intelligence inside of us wants us to bring about to the planet in a loving way. Period. That's all that it is. So lesson 124, let me remember I am one with God. Today, we will again give thanks for our identity in God. Notice it never says that I am God and that's it. It says that we are one with God because everybody is one with God. And until we understand that all of us is God expressing itself in individuated, unique ways, we don't understand what the oneness is that we're talking about. And we certainly can't love all that there is if we're thinking that oh, I'm God, I'm the one God, but not you, because that still keeps us in separation. So our identity in God is what we are giving thanks for. Our home is safe, protection guaranteed in all we do, power and strength available to us in all our undertakings, power and strength available to us. The power to be able to bring about whatever change we want to experience because we're powerful, in strength, the courage, and courage comes from the word heart. The courage, the heart, the love to do whatever it is that we desire to do, because our power is what we're extending. Our light is what we're extending. We're using our power to be what we are, extend what we are in service to the greater good of all. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. You can choose not to share it, but you cannot not be that. So power and strength is what we are. We have to move up to the courage line. You can't get to the courage line if you're in anger, if you're in shame, if you're in guilt, if you're in apathy, if you're in fear, if you're in desire. And this desire can be a selfish desire, you're going down, or this is a desire that starts the movement of self-help. I want things to get better. That desire then moves us through the level of anger. I'm angry that I don't have what I want. I know something inside of me tells me I'm worthy, but I'm angry I don't have it. That anger propels us and moves us to the level of pride where most people get stuck. Oh yeah, I'm one with a God, and get into that spiritualized ego. I know, been there, done that. Or I'm the Pope and I'm the only one that can get you to God, or gets you to that place where you really operate inside of a misperception about what this power is all about. It's in your head, but it's not in your heart. So, sentence 3, we can fail in nothing. Even operating as an ego, totally condensed and dense, you cannot fail because you're still in the mind of God. God still created you. You may be covering up your identity by having an ego covering you up by thinking you're this separate person, and then living inside of your own little bubble, projecting, your reality like you're separate from everything else. You can do that, but you can't fail in being the child of God, powerful. You're just using your power to create without the courage necessary to create from love. It doesn't take any courage to create from fear of anything. Fear is the absence of love. So fear is the absence of courage. It's a scared person operating inside of fear, but you still can't fail in the eyes of God. So everything that we touch takes on a shining light that blesses and that heals when we are in alignment with the truth of who we are. Sentence 5. At one with God and with the universe, we go our way rejoicing with the thought that God himself goes everywhere with us. Sit with that. Sit and accept. I and the Father, Mother, God are one. Because in essence, God is the balanced masculine and feminine energy that creates all of creation. The only reason we have males and females on this planet, the only reason it started with Adam and Eve, is the essence of God as the allness, masculine and feminine. It's like it has an experience of dividing itself, so it can come in as masculine and feminine to have an experience of the polarities of the energy, the polarities of the womb of creation with the feminine, and the polarity of the creator, that is the one who penetrates all that is possible, penetrates the infinite potentials with its light. It brings it to new opportunities. And then there's the feminine that holds that creation until it's ready to be birthed. So as God expresses itself in feminine and masculine energy, appears to divide, but it divides only to experience what it is like in that specific essence, to then come into union, to come into oneness. And through the act of Lovemaking, what do they call it that? Because it's two coming together, where two or more are gathered, there is love. So these two come in a loving way and co-create new life that then goes on to perpetuate more feminine energy and masculine energy expressing itself individually and uniquely, so that they can come together and co-create. There's so many things that when we understand language, it makes perfect sense. So there is the masculine, two become one. And when two or more gather, there is love. They come into creation. There is a process of, we call when the man has ejaculation, he came. There is a coming that happens. And in that coming together, and there is a union, there is a perfection, that process of having that orgasm. When it is experienced to a man and a woman in love, in that process of that beautiful orgasm, it's like you forget about everything. The mind ceases to be, the body has an experience, everything gets activated. There is a joining that happens. It is from that point where new life comes from. But because humanity has been abusing what lovemaking is about, has been using it for its own personal gain, the polarities, the masculine, the feminine, have taken separate roles. The female went down. Well, this is what you do. The masculine went up. This is what I do. I do it when I want to do it. And we have lost the ability to come into union. And we only come in, not only, many come into union for the physical satisfaction only, oftentimes at the expense of one of the partners, typically the feminine. So we have to understand that when we say I and the Father, Mother, God are one, that means I'm embodying the feminine and the masculine. I'm embodying that I get to hold and birth new ideas, new creations. And where do those creations come from? The masculine energy is the one that wants to make things happen, that wants to take things out into the world and impregnate the world with its idea. It's the one that wants to thrust what is new into the marketplace, into society. So those two aspects are inside of us, but we don't really allow those to be in balance within us, because we don't understand that God is masculine, feminine energy, because we've been conditioned to believe that God is male. So we have given all of our power to masculine, and it's not even masculine, it's male dominance, not true masculine energy. Is absolutely beautiful and divine, and it is very protective of the feminine energy that it understands is its other, not its other half, but its other complement for coming into oneness. So when we understand this, that God goes with us wherever we go, we have that masculine, feminine energy inside of us, but the mind has to be trained into understanding that everything that we experience is experienced because of the mind. Our idea, our thought, I want to come into the realm of separation. I want to experience myself as masculine, feminine, but that mind enters as a baby, where it deliberately has to forget that it is all that is. Because if you know you're all that is and you're just in a masculine body, that wouldn't make sense. Then you would just have to disintegrate that one body that is polarized masculine and just be all that you are. So we have to forget who we are so that we can descend into the experience of one aspect of creation, to go join and come into union, come into communion with another, to co-create more that is beautiful and lovely and magnificent. So humanity forgot that. We got trained out of that, and we descended into selfish, greedy, polarized people. So that understanding that we're all of it, using the mind to enter into the idea of experiencing what it's like to be an aspect of creation, an aspect of God, all of that happens through the mind. There is that desire that happens through the thinking. So let's go to paragraph 2. How holy are our minds? How holy are our minds that was able to have the ability to make a decision to co-create with God, because we have to use the essence of God, the experience of separation. How holy is that mind? We are in the mind of God because God's mind it's not confused. Our mind goes into the process of experiencing separation and it gets confused. And it only gets confused because it is met by people who are lower in consciousness and pull us into their stories. Now, today's children are not going to go that low because they won't tolerate that. They won't tolerate that. Most of today's children are calling their parents up into coming into higher consciousness. But we came in generations that were in lower consciousness and they pulled us down. So our mind got filled, got blocked. It's like they took our beautiful mind and shoved nonsensical information in there, and it clouded our perception. We forgot who we are, and we're operating basically with misinformation. So our mind got filled with egoic thoughts. That's why that's our wrong mind. And the Course says it's just wrong thinking. That's why nobody gets in trouble with God. You're just thinking wrongly. So we need to declutter the mind. We need to pull out all those old beliefs that I'm separate, that I'm just a female, that I'm just a male, that I'm not good enough, that I'm unlovable, that I'm not wanted. All of that has to be taken out of our mind. We have to declutter the mind, open it up. And once the mind is open and free again in its innocence, and that's quite a jarring experience to not have anything in your mind. I don't know about you, but I went through a period when I was emptying so much, and I got to the point that I couldn't remember things. And I went through a process of going, oh my God, and I was only in my 40s. I was in my late 40s thinking, am I getting Alzheimer's? Oh my gosh, I can't remember things, because I had done so much healing that the stories were not running in my mind. My mind got so quiet. I entered into my 50s with a quiet mind, and I thought, oh my God, this is good. This is really good. This is amazing. And then I began to realize that in that quiet mind, inspiration could flow and could be heard. I could hear it because my mind was quiet. That process is the process of joining with the mind of God. And then begin to use your mind to have the thoughts that are in alignment with the activation of the intuition that comes through the heart. But you can't have that heart experience if your mind is cluttered with stuff that makes no sense. And that's what we are in the middle of right now. We're in year 2022, the beginning of the year, and we're seeing more and more nonsensical stuff coming out into the, so that it's available for all to see. Before, it was always there, and those who saw it got labeled conspiracy theorists or nuts or whatever, and burnt at the stake or told to drink poison. I mean, it's crazy what we've done to people who were trying to show us the way. But crucified Jesus, because those who understood how holy the mind is did not want anybody else to access that holy mind. Because if we all access our holy mind and use it appropriately with power and courage, if we use it in that way, nobody can control anybody else. But those who controlled people's minds were not connected to their heart. So in Ascension, we go through the process of clearing the mind, and then we connect with the heart. We have to let love be what inspires the mind into creation, because we need the feminine love to be the one who holds the beautiful ideas that are being penetrated into our mind, because God is inspiring us. We're accessing more of what is outside of us. We're opening our crown chakra and receiving. God's intelligence is penetrating us. It's like that masculine part of creation is penetrating us. We need to open up the heart to receive it, to become the womb in which God's, oh, this makes me want to cry. Every single one of us, when we open our heart, we're opening up the feminine so that we can receive the energy of creation, which is masculine. And the men who are not in touch with their heart, they're not receiving the masculine intuition that is coming to them. They can't, because they're operating with egoic, selfish, greedy, and that happens for women too. I know I did. I operated like a man bulldozer. I was going to push my way through life. And it took a lot of work to move out of that masculine penetrating the world and opening up my heart to be receptive to the beautiful new ideas that are coming. I had to open myself and allow myself to receive, to let information penetrate me that was informing me about the truth of what's happening in the world that is absolutely insane. And I had to hold that information without judging it with the head, but receive it as, oh, there's a lot going on that I need to bring my love to. There's a lot going on out there that's pretty dark. How can I bring light to that darkness? How can I bring love, compassion to those who are operating from those evil ways because they're so disconnected from the truth of who they are? It is a call for love. So I had to get myself ready, but to that readiness comes when we understand how holy our minds are, our creative minds. And I point to here, but that's not where the mind is. That's the brain. That is the one that takes what we think and it categorizes it by density into neurological pathways. And the ego only operates with low density. So our mind has been filled with pathways that give us the ability to regurgitate the same nonsense, the same BS over and over and over again, because the density of the ego thinking gets programmed into the brain. Once you clear up the ego thinking, your brain is free. That's when the brain, you don't have to remember anything because you have access to all knowingness at all times. So literally the brain that operates optimally is like a child that doesn't have information and it's operating from inspiration until we fill their little brains with so much regurgitated nonsense that they lose their ability to be inspired. But the mind is not the brain. So we can tap into the mind of God, begin to clean up our thinking. That actually allows the brain, which is very plastic, to let go of thoughts. But the only way that you can have your brain let go of a thought is you have to decide that thought is no longer serving you. You have to make the decision, I'm not going to think that thought. But you have to replace it with another thought, a higher vibing thought, and think it for a little while until that thinking allows that brain to move from density and atrophy. And from that place, then it begins to expand and gets healthier and it begins to light up. And when the brain lights up, the brain can give you the ability to access information about the world that you need, but then the real information about who you are that is not of this world enters you through the heart. So they work together. But we need to understand how holy is our mind, and we've got to clean it up and allow God to infill it. Allow God to infill it. So how holy are our minds? And everything we see reflects the holiness within the mind at one with God and with itself. How easily do errors disappear and death give place to everlasting life? Because when you know the truth of who you are, when you know that you're eternal and you are no longer afraid of death, now the stuff of the world, so what if you leave this world today? You can come back tomorrow if you want to. You can reincarnate wherever. You can choose to come in immediately as your own grandchild. You can come in through one of your children who is ready to have a baby, or you can come in through any child, you can make any choice to incarnate as soon as you want to. So when you're totally free from having to hold on to this and hold on to that, and you're free from the world having you tethered to it, you become untethered, as is so beautifully written in the book by Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul. But if you notice, those of you who have studied that book, at the very end, it says that one who reaches that place of being untethered lives happily ever now for no reason. Why? Because they have come into alignment with God. They know they're in full relationship with God. To get to that place where you're in full relationship with God, you have to understand that the thoughts that you think that are of separation, of judgment, of victimization, of bullying, specialness, hierarchy, all those thoughts are ego thoughts. You got to give up those thoughts so your brain releases those neurological pathways from being your reality. And to be able to get to that, you have to let those errors disappear. They're errors. You learned erroneous information, and you want to let it go. And death is one of those erroneous informations that have been given to us and told that, yeah, we're going to die and scare the crap out of us. until such time, and people go to their death in such terror. So we need to give place to everlasting life and know that that is our truth. You don't need to have a neurological pathway that tells you that you're everlasting. You are. Everlastingness is what you are. But for a little while, you replace the fear of death with thoughts that, no, I'm eternal, until you don't need to think I'm eternal because you know it. You feel it in your heart. Sentence number 4 in paragraph 2 says, our shining footprints point the way to truth. For God is our companion as we walk the world a little while. When you embody light, your footprints, it's like they have headlights. You know, you're beaming light. What you are is light, and you can see clearly what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. You see clearly who you want to hang out with. You see clearly what's calling you. Intuition guides you. Synchronicity creates the appointments, and you are moving to where you're supposed to be because your light lights the way, and you take steps in that direction. But you know God goes with you, is your companion, because you know you're under no laws but God's. Another beautiful lesson from the Course in Miracles. And when you operate with that, then you lose your fear of what's happening in the world, because you see, oh, these are people calling for love or being loved. They're shining their light, or their light is covered. It becomes a simple game. And now there's nobody to get angry with. There's just people to have compassion for. Oh my goodness, these people are really dark. They're so corrupt. They're so jealous. They're so greedy. Think they're victims, think that they're bullies. They think that they own the world. Oh my goodness, compassion, brother, sister. You know, you are way more than that limited idea that you have of yourself. And so am I. So no, I'm not going to comply with your insanity, because I don't subscribe to that. I'm not going to fit into that tiny idea that you have of me, but you are in my idea of how big you are. So I see you as a powerful creator creating that insanity for yourself, but I am not going to participate in judging you or blaming you, because then I'm going to go down with you. I'm going to stay up here in my high vibe, because my mind is holy and I only think things that I think with God. That's it. It becomes so simple when God is your companion. Sentence 5 says, and those who come to follow us will recognize the way, because the light we carry stays behind. I'll explain that in a second. The light that we carry stays behind, yet still remains with us as we walk on. And those of you who've been studying with me a long time, you know that this is true. The people that I have impacted with my teachings, and my teachings are God's teachings, or Jesus's teachings. It's not mine. I can't own it. It just comes through me. I just allow it to come through me. I've touched, let me change that. Lots of people's lives have been touched because of the teachings that move through me, the light that I've shared with them that is true. Their lives have changed, and I don't need to see those people. I don't need to talk to those people, but I know, thankfully, through social media, I see what they're posting. Their lives have been transformed. So my light stayed there because I shined it. I shared truth. So they got truth that they now are using. No matter where they are on their journey, they could be a step or two behind where I am on my ascension process. And then there are some whose light, they receive the light of truth, and they're beyond on the path of ascension. And we all move to wherever we move, and we take that light that we all are learning from each other. You know, recently we had a beautiful teacher who transitioned. He dropped his body and returned into non-physicalness. He dropped his male body, Thich Nhat Hanh, and you know how much light that brother left on this planet? Do you know how many millions of people he touched with his teachings? He left little chunks of light all over this globe. And that light in those beings is continuing to expand and to engulf them to the point that then they share it, they teach it, they are that. So once we open ourselves up to being the light that we are, knowing that we are one, every little bit of light that is turning on right now is making this whole planet look like a freaking Christmas tree, like a Christmas tree where, you know, somebody went crazy and triple wrapped, and it's nothing but light. You can't even see the ornaments. There's so much light on the planet right now. That's what this is saying. You let your holy mind be cleansed of egoic thoughts that block the path. You let God's intelligence, you let God's creativity just all that potential penetrate your holy mind because you've opened it up, and then you receive. So you prepare your body to be the receptacle of that beautiful intuition, that beautiful knowledge that comes into you. And then you let those two come into union inside of you, and you birth new ideas, new ways of being. And you can't help but radiate that light because you know your heart has opened and your mind can't close it with judgments anymore. And when you operate from that place, you become the change you want to see in the world, because then you shine your light and others will be drawn to it that are of that vibe. And those, because it's resonance, it's like metronomes. We resonate to one another, and we then come into where we're moving the same way. And in total and complete understanding that we're all free beings. All those codependent relationships, all that stuff falls away because they don't have that frequency of one who is operating in total complete oneness with God, in complete oneness, masculine, feminine, fully integrated within ourselves. From that place that we understand how holy is our mind, then we really get that the path to living in alignment with God is through a mind that is in service to receiving what God wants us to remember. And listen to the word that I use, what God wants us to remember. There is absolutely nothing new that you are going to learn that is going to help you become enlightened. It is strictly about remembering everything you had to forget to come in as a baby with a blank mind. So we're activating that knowledge. And where's all that information? Where is that stored? I keep saying it's penetrating us, but it's actually penetrating us from our DNA. It's opening up and it's pushing its way through our cells, through our body, and it's activating memories inside of us. Many of us don't need to read something to remember truth. It's just we're remembering. We're having bursts of magnificent ideas, especially the younger people. They're just remembering stuff. Nobody teaches them the truth of who they are. They just know it because it's coming from within themselves, and their minds, their bodies are already prepared to receive, to be that birthing place, that's that beautiful womb that holds what is coming to them in their remembering, and then they bring it into, they birth it for the world to experience. So that is just, I'm going to read this, the third paragraph. It's relatively short, but it's so good. What we receive in our eternal gift to those who follow after is our eternal gift. So what we receive, what we experience, what is birth, is what we leave for all who are going to follow after us. You can think about it as your grandchildren, the students that you've had, whoever you've touched, the people that you met at the coffee shop. You leave that beauty with them. So what we receive is our eternal gift to those who follow after, and to those who went before or stayed with us a while. And God, who loves us with the equal love in which we were created, smiles on us and offers us the happiness he gave. Oh my goodness, to be aware that God is smiling every single time one of us takes off the proverbial lampshade that covers our light, that we take off the density of the egoic identity. When we get to the place that we are fully in communion, and we've come into union with God, we are operating in such a beautiful place of knowing who we are, and it cannot help but leave its imprint for the planet. You know, one of the reasons that I am so now more than ever fully determined to share the work that I do, which is why I probably will go to Instagram, because that audience there seems to be a lot more active, and not so much in Facebook. And is because people are hungry for this kind of information, and just putting it on YouTube, it doesn't seem like to move on its own, or attract people. Maybe I'm just doing this the wrong way in terms of how I make it available, but it's because it's inside of me to share this. Why? Because I have a little grandson who's 9 months old. He'll be 9 months old tomorrow. This little grandson is the perfect example of the essence of God who has entered this planet. He is my guru. He is here to teach me how I can be more like him. And I want to be more like him, because when I reincarnate, I want to be born into a planet that beings like him are the mother and father. I don't want to reincarnate with the old people. the old ways. I don't want to go to a planet that is operating at that low density. And of course, if you understand that everything is a fractal, everything is a hologram, there are lots of experiences, timelines that are happening at once. I am not going to incarnate in a dense timeline. I'm not going to incarnate in a 3D timeline. I am going to incarnate in 5D or above. So for that to happen, I need to leave this planet a better place for me, for me to come back in. But my grandson is the impetus for me to do it like now, to begin the process, because I want him to experience that same kind of a planet. And our work as conscious beings is to help these little ones coming in, to help the ones who are remembering, have a safe container in which they can remember the truth of who they are. And when they say, I and the Father, Mother, God are one, we say, yes, you are. Instead of, if I'd have said that when I was little, you know what my grandmother would have said to me? That's blasphemy. How dare you say you're not like God? God is up there and decides if you're good or bad. And that's how we've been treated, because those who understood how holy the mind of God is made sure that we couldn't access the mind of God. So they filled it up with crap. They filled it up with making us little workers and shoppers and busybodies and stressed out and so crazy that we lost our ability to be in connection with conscious connection. We're always in connection because we cannot not be in connection with God. We just block the connection because we create so much static with the noise in our head. We can't hear the voice of God inside of us. So let me stop here and let's take the next couple of minutes. Did you get some nuggets from this conversation? Is there something here that made sense to you? And if so, when you watch this YouTube video, click on the like button, share the YouTube with somebody and say, I heard this message that was so profound and it just activated something beautiful. And even if you don't share it, it's okay. At least share with me right now, what nuggets did you receive from this message coming directly from God through Jesus, through Helen Schuckman, who wrote the book, through the people at the Foundation for Inner Peace who printed it, and then for me, who just happened to interpret its teachings for you through my own personal experiences, because we're all working in tandem here. So please unmute yourself and share. And you guys can all unmute yourselves.
Hi, Dondra. What you just said, we're all working in tandem. And when you first started out and asked the question and Kat answered, we're all one. Everything is one. And just to stop and acknowledge that over and over and over, I have to just to stop, appreciate that and know that and feel that inside of yourself. That's what gives me, that's the nugget I get. That's the substance I get from this.
Yes, that's beautiful. And think about it, that we really are like a cell in the body. And when we come together, we're like an organ. You know, when we think alike, we're like an organ in the body. But what's the body? Humanity. And it's even more than humanity. You could even say that each organ is like one planet or one galaxy, one constellation. And what is the body? Is all that God is. And we are little bits inside of all of that, but it's all one. But we've been conditioned to think, oh, my little cell is special, but yours is not. Oh, you're over there in the liver and I'm over here in the spleen. We're so different. Or I'm in the heart and you're not. And that is so beautiful, beautiful share. Thank you so much. If this conversation inspired that, that's wonderful. I'm so grateful that that's what you received. So, all right, who else? Miss Kat.
Well, what I shared earlier, I don't mean to say, as like Donna said, I have to keep reminding myself of this, because a lot of it is, I hear it as in my mind as truth. Yet I I'm not at that point. So yeah, not just even intellectually, but I understand the truth. I'm getting the truth of it. I just can't always be that. No, I shouldn't say I can't always do that. I can. It's just a choice. And sometimes unconsciously I make a choice, and then I have to go back and say, whoa, well, that's not the choice I'm going to make. And I cannot do that all the time. Well, again, that's limiting. So I'm not going to accept that. I can do it all the time. That's my intention.
Yes. And that's beautiful. And that is a wonderful thing to share, because we all have the ability to do that. All absolutely. We can choose always to be one, to operate seamlessly as that loving beings that we are. But the fact that you caught yourself and said, oh, I know it's a choice, that's such a powerful place to be, because from that place, that's when we have to activate love towards ourselves. Compassion that I forgot about, that compassion that I didn't make the choice to be loving. And that actually choosing to be compassionate with ourselves and forgive ourselves when we forget to be love is what activates more of our loving DNA. Because when we can be compassionate with ourselves, it's as if we fast track the remembering of the truth of who we are. And once we have more of that memory of the truth of who we are, the choosing it becomes not even a choice. It's a choiceless choice. You just are what you are. But that self-forgiveness is key to you being able to do it a lot more without even thinking about it as you progress on the path to ascension. So that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Me too. Me too. It's very much a choiceless choice for me. It's pretty much the way that it operates for me. For the majority of it. But every now and again, I'll experience a situation where I do have that quick reaction and I have to go, wait a second. But my automatic is I forgive myself for forgetting I could have been loving in that moment. And to backtrack and clean things up is super easy, because I know what it yields before. I'm not going to apologize for having been ugly. They don't deserve my apology. So it was still very egoic and very, or I would say, oh my God, I'm ashamed that I wasn't loving. I won't even apologize, so I don't have to bring it back up. I don't want to have to talk about it. Let me just pretend that I am loving now. And they're like, what? So it's beautiful to move on this path. And we're helping one another through our shares. So that's wonderful. Vicki said, everything you share feels very true to me. Oh, thank you, sister. I'm just sharing what Jesus shares with me. Or has shared with all of us. So that is absolutely wonderful. I'm so grateful you guys are here. And we did it. We got this beautiful lesson. It's not the whole lesson, but enough of it in 1 hour. I would have liked to have done one more paragraph, but we'll do it next time. So I will see you all next week, same time, same bat channel. And we will keep going. We will keep going with that particular lesson because it's such a powerful lesson. And let me get the number of it again, 124.
Laina, can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
If you switch to Instagram, I'm going to have to be on Instagram, I guess.
So there's two options. I'll do it in Instagram. Instagram only lets the live go about 45 minutes. So I will have to be recording. I'll record it on Zoom as I do now, and then I upload that as a full YouTube. But on Instagram, probably the first 45 minutes will be live there. So you'd have to have an Instagram, or you'll just have to wait till I have the video done, and then you won't be live with me, but you'll get the video.
Okay.
You can be live through Instagram.
Okay.
The new technology. And I'll have to keep them, it's between 45 minutes and an hour on Instagram. I just want more people to hear this message. And obviously with you guys, I'm sharing with the choir, and it's about how many more people can we impact with the truth that keeps coming through me, and it doesn't want to stop. A couple of times I tell my beloved, you know what, I just everybody already knows this. What else can I add? And then it's like God gives me a little kick in the butt and says, girl, you're going to keep sharing. And I'm like, oh, but where do I do this so people receive it? And then the thought came, Instagram. I saw something that said, my daughter, actually, someone who says, Mom, nobody that I know is on Facebook. You're on Facebook. I only go to Facebook to look at your stuff. But you put pictures of my child, so I don't need to come to Facebook to look at my child. So she said, Lauren says, come to Instagram, get your message out on Instagram. And so anyhow, flowing with the technology, but the videos, I'll still put them on YouTube. I'll let you know when I do that, but it'll be, fairly soon. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And now let me jump on my next 1 o'clock thing in 2 minutes. Potty break. I love you all. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.